Hey guys, it's Fish Slim. It's a cold, windy night, getting close towards dark. I pull up to a spot I want to fish, and I'm in the van warming up, but I have been already out getting baits prepared. I took about 3 or 4 jerk baits, some Smithwicks and a hit stick, and I took them over to the water. I put them on poles and I just pulled them in the water and set them in there. Kind of let them sit there for about 5 minutes without doing anything to them. Why'd I do that? Well, what I'm trying to do is acclimate those baits to the temperature of the water. They've been in this nice warm cozy van like I'm in right now. Been in it all day. So you know the temperature of those is nothing close to what that water temperature was. So before you start fishing, especially in cold water in the 30s, it's really important to get those baits to temperature of the water. Then you can tune them properly. If you take them out now right out of the warmth and put them in there and start pulling them down and everything looks great, 9 times out of 10, once they've got used to the water temperature and it's colder, they're going to end up sinking on you because they're just not right. So I waited, gave them a good 5 minutes, went back out, and I took each one of them and I put some, they were floating, so I put some weight on them, and I took some solder, lead solder, and I wrapped it right on the middle shank of the middle treble hook. I put it back in the water, I pulled them down, they started sinking, so I took my clippers out and I started just snipping, I mean just tiny little pieces of that solder off, and I'd pull it back down and I'd wait, and I'd wait, and I'd check it, and I keep doing that until I finally got those baits to sit exactly where I pulled them, not rising, not falling. Now I do have one that I tuned so that it slow rises. There's times when that could be the ticket. But you want these things not to sink, and you don't want them to sink fast. That's the key here. Now I'm going to be able to take these baits out here at prime time in about 15-20 minutes, and I'm going to know they're ready to go, and they're going to stay right where they pull them under the water column. I'm at Indian Lake. It's a shallow lake. It's clear right now. So guys, you don't have to pull these things down like we used to, 3, 4 hard pumps. A lot of what I'm doing is just pulling them down, 1 good pump or even a half a pump, getting them a foot under the surface, 6 inches, and then I'm letting them just sit there. Now we got strong breeze and wind tonight. I'm working an area that's got a little bend to it. It's making a nice little corner edge that's slick, it's smooth. I'm pulling these baits and putting them out there and pulling them down in that wind, and I'm letting them slide right across with that current, and they just slowly work their way right into that eddy. And that's where I'm expecting those fish to be. If they're not there, then they're out there in the middle with that current a little bit. I've got some bait around, and the bait I'm looking for is tonight I found some shad. These shad are just under the surface, and every now and then you just see one flickering like it's just like a dying, like it's dying. There's no fast movement to these. So that tells me no fast movement to my bait. I'm going to pull that jerk bait out there, and I'm going to pull it down. I'm going to let it sit. I'm going to count to 3, 4, 5 at first, and give it a couple little rolls or just subtle moves to make it move just a little bit like those shad do. And then we'll let it sit again. I'm going to count that down again and work it back. If that's not working, then I'm going to go longer. I can get up to, the other night I was up to 10, 12 seconds of just letting it roll right with the wind and putting the current, push it along. And they would pick it up and tighten your line up, and you'd set the hook. So that's just a little idea of what I'm talking about, of how to do these. Get to your spots before you plan on fishing, before the hot bite time. Get your baits tuned and prepped to work in the water temperatures. After you've been here again, like tonight, this temperature's dropping fast. I guarantee you in an hour, the water temperature's going to drop right with it, and you got to check your baits again. Make sure that they're still floating and staying in place, because many times what happens is they either start rising fast But typically in this, they sink. So you got to nip a little more of that weight off there and readjust it. You do that, you will stay on the game and you will continue to catch fish. If you don't, and don't pay attention to those fine little things, you won't catch as many fish as you could. They've also been known to knock some of that weight right off in a matter of a fight with a good fish. So after you catch a fish, always check and make sure that you didn't lose your weight. That's just a subtle tips of part of dead sticking and fine tuning jerk baits that will help you catch more fish. I hope you enjoy it. Tight lines out there. I'm going out to see if I can find some.